Move on to the manager raising from the open minutes. Alderman Cook, do you wish to come on?
Chair, it was just on the previous, just in regards to the attack at Lime Street, sorry. And it was just to condemn the attack as well and concur with all the other speakers.
Okay, no, apologies. I missed your name in the chat box. But thanks for that. So, members, matters are rising from the open minutes of governance and strategic planning on Tuesday, 1st of October. Councillor McGinley.
Just a wee point of accuracy in GSP 180/24. It's on page 115. And the comment says Professor McKenna stated that the responsibility for higher education rested with the Minister for Education. It's just to have that corrected that it's the Minister for Economy.
Okay, that will be noted and amended. Any further matters arising? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, Chair, GSP 182/24, just in terms of the Middle East situation. I just wanted to make a point, because as a council, our stated position is that we want to see the Occupied Territories Bill progressing. I think nobody in this chamber will be surprised to know that there's an election being called imminently in the 26 counties. And as an ask, we have tried to pursue the coalition government of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, who have both stated that they are in support of this bill to try and get it across the line before they dissolve the Dáil for the election. As a party, Sinn Féin have offered our speaking time to try and get this across the line. As yet, they have declined that offer, which tells me that at this point they are paying lip service to what is going on in Gaza. But I just wanted to make that point in this chamber, as our stated position is that we want to see the Occupied Territories Bill progress as soon as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Any further matters arising? No. Moving on to item number 8 is the Q2 financial outturn paper. Very positive paper, and there was a few wee surprises contained within it. And Alfie's going to take us through them now.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. So, members, the report is for you to consider and approve our 6-month financial outturn at 30th of September. There's a lot of detail in the report, members, so I'll just focus on what I see as the very key issues. A detailed report is set out in the appendix for all our service areas, and it's summarised in the table in section 3.1 of the report. So, you'll note that our outturn is currently 226k ahead of target. That's 676k less 450k, which has been retained towards our reserves reduction strategy, which hopefully will help with our upcoming rates process. The key areas of saving, members, firstly, income levels across all our services, which is really pleasing to see the continued recovery, so they're well ahead of budget. Secondly, utility costs continue to be under budget, although we are aware of risks around that in quarters 3 and 4. And thirdly, members, generally the approach across all service areas is to minimise expenditure where possible, and that has contributed to the overall saving. So in terms of the key pressures, we do have pressures within some of our key core statutory service areas, such as cemetery, street cleansing and waste services, due to, I suppose, demands in the service. We have set aside maintenance provision within leisure and community services for a range of critical health and safety priorities that are emerging. They will all be subject, members, to reports to those committees in due course. And the final pressure I've touched on relates to ring fencing money for reserves, which will hopefully save us having to put that on the rates in the upcoming rates process. So, members, probably, I suppose what I see, a couple of the more significant areas don't really result in a positive variance or negative variance in this report, but it's important to brought to your attention. So the first one is that very positively we've now just reached agreement with HMRC on the settlement of our leisure VAT claim, and we have received a sum of 4.53 million, including statutory interest. This doesn't give a rise to a variance in the report, members, as you'll be aware from our approved capital strategy that any receipts in this respect are ring-fenced towards the financing of our strategic leisure projects. So accordingly, the money has just been transferred to our capital fund. We will have a further claim to submit, members, for this financial year, although we will have costs to pay in terms of the legal fees in relation to that case across the 11 councils. So hopefully that figure will increase slightly between now and the end of the year. The second key area, members, is the airport. So in the appendix, you will see we've received very positive correspondence from the Minister for Infrastructure confirming the funding of 3 million for this financial year, and also confirming that the subsequent years of support will be now taken forward by the Department for Economy. And obviously we're working very closely with Department for Economy officials to try and conclude all that in advance of the striking of our rate on 15th of February. So again, no savings have been reported at this point, members, pending conclusion of that process. The final area, members, rate support grant. We're expecting conclusion of the Minister's review mid-November. That's obviously the conclusion of that will be really important for our upcoming rates process, and you'll be aware we've made a very substantial submission to that, which was approved by this committee. So we await the outcome of that, as we also await the outcome of the judicial review taken by Mid-Ulster Council, against which we haven't heard anything yet. So, members, that's the key issues. So overall, as the Chair has said, a very positive report, and it's recommended that you approve the Q2 financial outturn position and the associated considerations within the report. Thank you.
Okay, before I bring any members on, I have a few indicated speakers. I'm going to bring the Chief Executive on. Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And members, just to build upon what Alfie has said, obviously this is a really positive position to be in at the end of Q2, particularly the strategic position. And as members will know, this council has been pushing hard in respect of many of those strategic issues for actually many, many years, and form the core and the backbone of our strategic funding strategy for capital projects. So this does give us and makes significant progress with regard to that funding strategy. And as members know, there's a joint City Deal Stroke Capital Working Group scheduled for Wednesday, into which we will bring many of these issues for discussion with members, which will then result in a further paper coming into Governance Committee and indeed dovetailing with the rates estimates process. So it does move us substantially along the way, albeit there's a distance to go. But it's not just simply a budgetary situation. It does help us move many of our strategic initiatives forward. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, John. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alfie and John, for the report. Absolutely, hugely positive. I wrote a couple of notes when you were talking, Alfie, and I mean, income ahead of budget, utilities under budget, minimising expenditure equals savings. All really, really positive. So all moving in the right direction. But just to comment on the HMRC fact claim, I think that is probably one of the best news stories I have read in a financial outturn paper in a while. In terms of our strategic leisure, it's no secret that I have huge ambitions around our strategic leisure, particularly around Templemore Sports Complex and the redevelopment there. I have been talking about it for a long time. I stopped talking about it because I was afraid that it actually wasn't going to happen. But over the last while, I have started to believe that it is actually going to happen. We're seeing our funding strategy come into place. We're seeing things around the airport and the financing of the airport. And now with this news from HMRC, with over 400 million or 4 million going into our strategic leisure pot, I feel quite excited about it. I actually did a meeting earlier today, and Templemore came up in the meeting, and I said to the person, watch this space. I really do believe that we're moving in the right direction. So thank you for the report. I feel very, very positive around how we're facing under our strategic leisure, and I look forward to seeing Templemore started.
Okay, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. We share the excitement of tomorrow morning. And I suppose, to move from where we were with the various interventions that have come along is absolutely tremendous. And what's the saying? All good things come to those who wait. Well, we've been waiting a heck of a long time. So let's see where we're taking the benefits of what is being produced here, and that will be discussed tomorrow morning. As Councillor Duffy has mentioned a particular project, you'll not be surprised when I talk about play parks throughout the entire district and a few other things, but let's see where we go. At least we now have the tools and the opportunity to provide increased benefit to the ratepayers throughout our district council area. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I proposed the recommendation if it wasn't already proposed. Was it?
Okay, Councillor Tierney.
Chair, thank you, and thanks to Alfie and John for a very positive report. Who would have thought that when we were sitting at the RITS process last year, that we would be in this position so early this year, with many of the, I suppose, hurdles overcome. I think it's very positive news around the HMRC leisure VAT claim, and I do look forward to seeing that number hopefully increase by the time we're going to set the RITS this year. I, like Councillor Duffy, have been talking about Templemore Sports Complex for a long, long time. I didn't stop talking about it. I knew it was always going to happen. It was just when. There was no fear. It was how and when, and I'm happy to see that we now have a funding strategy in place, and look forward to tomorrow's meeting to see how that progresses. I think, it can't be underestimated about when we were sitting here last year and all of the concerns that we had around our strategic leisure, around the airport, around the RIT support grant, and how far we have come. I think it's a huge well done to our senior leadership team for sticking on task and making sure that all of our cases were put forward to the appropriate people, and making sure that people heard exactly what this council needed to do to make this city and district thrive. And I think we're on the road to that. I hope we continue on that road, and we're certainly there to do whatever we can to support. But a huge thank you to the officers for the report and for the work that they've done between times. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further speakers? No. Well, there's. I don't know. I'm not sensing any dissenting voices, so the proposal's been, recommendation's been posed by Councillor Duffy and seconded by Alderman Hussey, and I'm taken by, endorsed by the floor of this chamber. So I'm taking that as passed. But I think Alderman Hussey referred to or made a comment that all good things come to those who wait, and some of the speakers have referred to its process, stuff like that. And I appreciate the sentiment of it, Alderman Hussey, but this was the result of a lot of hard work and brave decisions in the midst of really tough financial situation. This council decided to budget and start putting away the necessary funding at a 1.5% under rates last year. They allow for the progression of our strategic leisure projects. That brave decision was vindicated, has been vindicated through this. I know, and I know there's further discussion, and I don't want to prejudice any further discussions that we will have to have, and there will be challenges in relation to that as well. But it shows that when we have ambition and be brave, that we can achieve things, and that's so. It's I agree, I see with the sentiment, but no, there was a risk in terms of stepping out and at a time when it was much easier to say no, it's not the right time and put it off for a year. This council took a brave stance, an ambitious stance, and we're on the right pathway. We're not there, we're not there yet, but this report is another huge step along the way. So thanks for Alfie and all the team and who were involved and everybody who's been involved in taking those brave decisions. And long may they continue. Number 9, the collaborative insurance tender. Yourself, Alfie.
Thanks, Chair. Members, this report is to seek your endorsement to allow the Chief Executive to have delegated authority for the award of the insurance contract and placement of our insurance from 1st of April 25.
So proposed.
The seconder. Proposed, Alderman Hussey. Seconded. Anyone? Councillor Heaney? Okay.
I so proposed.
Apologies, apologies. Proposed by Councillor Farrell, seconded by Alderman Hussey. Apologies. Number 10, anti-poverty action plan, isn't it?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members. Members, you'll be familiar with this report because we've given several updates prior to this, but today we're requesting your approval to endorse the 4 themes that have been set out for the draft action plan and the associated actions. Members, I don't intend to go through the background because, again, I feel that you're very familiar with it, and sincere thanks to all those members who have participated so effectively in, over this last number of months, particularly around the workshops and also contributing to the anti-poverty task and finish grips. Members, there's a number of things that I would want to highlight, and particularly around the section 2.4, and because it was one of the things that you particularly had asked for, was that it would be lived experience and it would be local support organisations that would actually direct the direction of the action plan, and that they would help to influence and really co-design that whole process. And you can see that from the workshops that were held from March through to October, that the first workshop really give an in-depth view at the levels of poverty and understanding the data and what the challenges were presented. But from then onwards, it really was identifying what could be done locally in the context of the Strategic Inclusive Growth Plan, and also recognising that central government hold a lot of the power in terms of policy and resources in terms of addressing the root causes of poverty. So that's really effectively identified those themes and actions that we're proposing to take forward. Really want to underline section 2.5, particularly in terms of the contributions that we did receive from speakers and everybody who attended the workshops. But I really have to draw attention to the fantastic, candid insights that we got from people with lived experience, and that's what you specifically had asked for. And you can see the detail and really understand that whilst it's one thing to look at data sets and to look at policies and strategies, it's a different thing whenever you're actually speaking to people face to face and not actually appreciating, you know, what all they've gone through in order to get into that room and to share their experiences with you. Members, in section 3, the key issues, we really highlight the importance of having a Northern Ireland anti-poverty strategy, the fact that the expert panel has made these recommendations and which have been fully endorsed by members yourselves. We also identified that a lot of the issues that have come forward and a lot of the themes are cognizant both of those recommendations of the expert panel, but also remember you've received 2 presentations in recent times from the 2 social supermarkets within Derry and Strabane, and also in terms of the Northern Ireland Anti-Poverty Network and the Equality Commission. Want to show you and demonstrate to you that those recommendations that you had endorsed have been now incorporated within these draft themes and actions. Members, don't intend to go through each of them because, again, I know that many of you have been involved in these discussions up to this point and also are very familiar with it. But the 4 themes are around lobby and advocacy, and that's really giving the voice back and taking action in terms of really affecting change and where we believe that we can affect change. You can see here, very, very strong aspect is the lived experience and making sure that that comes through in all of the key actions that are there. The second one, which was I suppose a real insight was that the level of support that we already have available within our council area, there's still lots of people that don't access support. Lived experience has told us that they don't look for support until they're actually in crisis, and then they don't know where to go to. People within a rural area or people with disabilities don't tend to use social media, don't use websites. So you can see we've suggested a number of task and finish groups involving people with lived experience to really drill down to effective solutions in terms of addressing some of those key challenges. Members, you'll also see a golden thread throughout this is really incorporating a lot of the activities that are already happening and bringing them to a different level. So, for example, we've already committed to the community wealth building, we've already committed to social clauses, and we've committed in terms of the opportunities of City Deal in terms of around skills and development. They're all included within this, and you can see how we've tried to take them forward, particularly with our government partners and our community partners who have given their commitment to these draft actions. Members, within Theme 3, you'll see that we had previously a commitment to be a real living wage employer ourselves. This one takes it to the next stage of where we become an accredited living wage employer, whereby we'd work with our third-party organisations to make sure that they also would be paying the real living wage. So what we've got today is 4 themes with a series of recommended actions under them. You can see that there's still a bit of development work that we want to take forward with 3 task and finish groups that would take them to the next stage. But we're looking for your endorsement in terms of writing up now a plan, a report that will go out for consultation, and very happy to take any questions or queries members might have.
Councillor Farrell.
Yep. Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Una. Would just like the proposed item on behalf of the SDLP. I've been involved in the anti-poverty working group. I've attended a number of the workshops, and this plan is achievable. It's deliverable. It needs to be done in tandem with the anti-poverty strategy that is rumoured in Stormont. And when we look at the proposed actions, these aren't solutions that councillors and Una have cooked up in a room. This is engagement with the community sector, with the education sector, with various people with lived experience right across this city and district. We know that this can work. So in terms of the key actions, we're particularly excited about council becoming an accredited living wage employer, and that would apply to all tenders and all organisations who benefit from council funding. We're excited about the potential of City Deal, social clauses within City Deal, and to ensure that there is cooperation between our council and the Department for the Economy to ensure that the opportunity that is provided by City Deal in terms of jobs, that it filters throughout the economy, that nobody's left behind, that the entire city and district benefits from it. And the other thing we're excited about is the free school day. Education, it costs a lot of money for families. The cost of uniforms, the cost of PE, getting kids to and from school. This takes its toll on families that are experiencing the cost of living crisis, families that are living in poverty, even though they're working. So anything we can do in partnership with our partners in education to relieve some pressure, that's something we should be exploring. But thank you very much, Una, as always. Dedication to the most. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McGinley.
Mega Chair, and thank you, Una, for the report. Councillor Aisling Hutton sits on the anti-poverty working group for us, but she has fed back about the amount of work and engagement that has been going on, and I think that's something that we should all be welcoming. The 2 things that stuck out to me in this was about providing a voice to people with lived experience. I think that's just like the most important thing, because you can't develop a strategy without people's lived experience, and also the expansion of circular initiatives. to promote the reuse of uniforms and sports clothing. I think it's a big thing in the cost of school uniforms, and there's some community groups across the district that are already doing it, like the Focus Project that does it based up in Rathmore. And I know that there is others, but that's just one that's sticking out in my head at the minute. But I think that if we can expand that through this, that's obviously fantastic. So thank you for the work that's gone on it. I look forward to seeing it rolled out, and I'm content to second the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, and just to support the proposal that has been seconded on the recommendation. And to thank, for all the work that's gone into this and others who have been working together on it. There's one word that I fear in the recommendation, and that's the word consultation. Let's not over-consult. Let's progress to action. That's my only concern. You can over-consult on some things, and there, as Councillor McGinley has said, there has been a tremendous amount of engagement, that may help to shortcut that level. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So we have a proposal from Councillor Farrell, seconded by Councillor McGinley. I don't hear any dissenting voices, so I'm assuming that's supported unanimously, and then I thank you on behalf of the entire committee. Moving on now to notification to members of external bodies, and that's Ellen.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This report provides members with the outcome of the follow-up with external bodies regarding member representation and notification of meetings. It also advises of a report that's coming forward to Business and Culture regarding 3 of the external groups that exist currently, and also to seek members' views on whether you wish representation on the regional childcare partnership. As indicated in the report, this follows a previous report in July, and prior to that, a request about arrangements and around the meeting of external bodies, and specifically their notification of members. As you can see from the report, there were a number of organisations didn't come back to us, primarily in the main community centres, and indeed there's follow-up ongoing now through the community development section to advise them of the requirements under the shared management agreement as set out in the report. There's also a number of, or 2 organisations which are currently paused, which we would ask you to note, and a further one, which is the Newton Stewart District, who are going to invite members from the DAA on to discuss programming and activities at the centre. One item of note is that the Western Area Childcare Partnership is no longer in existence and has been replaced by a regional body. At present, there are no councillors or councils actually represented on that body, and details of the current membership are provided in the paper. So today, obviously, the recommendations are before you are to note the follow-up outcomes in terms of the external bodies, to note the consideration of a report going to B&C regarding the Abolition Trail Glenelly Action Plan Committee and the Mourne-Derrick Action Plan Committee, and also to seek your views if this council wishes to be represented on the regional childcare partnerships, which we have been advised can be facilitated. Thank you, members.
Okay. Thank you, Ellen. And on the last point, I'm assuming given that there was a number of occasions that this council has identified childcare as a major issue. I'm assuming we would seek representation on that body. But in relation to the overall report, is there any questions, comments, proposer? Councillor Tierney.
Chair, thank you. I'm happy to support the paper and the 3 recommendations within it. The only query that I have at 5.3, the recommendation is that officers are looking to confirm if council would like to be represented. Is that by an elected member or by an officer? Just for clarity.
No, it would be by an elected member.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, happy enough to support the paper, Chair. Thank you.
And at the council AGM, we did appoint somebody under the Western, the local childcare group, so I would assume it would be that same person. Alderman Hussey?
Good, Chair, and thanks for the proposal, thanks for the report. As members know, I had asked this question, and I very much welcome a tremendous amount of work which has gone into this, as pretty obvious. And very happy to second the proposal and the recommendations. With regard to 5.2, I presume the continuation of the three bodies mentioned there would entail a meeting of those bodies to decide whether or not they wind up or continue, rather than us making that decision, because there's more than us involved in it. So I'm presuming, and I'm sort of looking towards legal advice on that is how that consideration would be taken forward. Thank you, Chair.
Through you, Chair, I understand that the Director of Business and Culture will set everything out in a report that's going forward, sort of beyond our scope of this report. Thank you.
Any further comments in relation to this? So we have a proposer from Councillor Tierney, seconded by,
Chair, Patricia Lowe here, look at my hand.
sorry,
Not on the committee, but I would like to, can I
Okay.
just make a comment, please?
okay, Councillor
Thank Ellen.
Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. Thank Ellen for the
See,
report.
Councillor Lowe, just before you do, and because I'm going to bring Councillor McDade in because she did put her name in the chat box.
Okay,
But I'll bring you in afterwards.
fair enough. Okay,
Go
thank
ahead,
you.
Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. It was just to confirm it was me that it was my name put forward for the Western Childcare Partnership. So if there is a councillor going on to it, I would be happy just to stay on and continue across if that's the way it works. So just whenever you're having that discussion. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Lowe.
Thanks, Chair. Look, I do see that the Road Safety Partnership are saying that they are convening a meeting shortly. However, during my time as mayor, I met with the Northwest Road Safety Partnership, who are part of the Life After group. And we met with Karen Phillips too and myself, and there was a bit of concern that the Road Safety Partnership were not meeting and hadn't met for some time. But at that meeting, I think Karen was to go away and try and progress how the two organisations could be accommodated, and that representation from council could be put on the two organisations. Now, I have emailed since, I haven't had a response yet, but I just want to put it on there that Northwest Road Safety Partnership is a great organisation. I would say a lot of councillors have had contact with them, and I do think that we should have council representation on that group too as well. So I realise I'm not on the committee, but just to have that on there, and we can take it forward at another time.
Chair, just for clarity around the Northwest Road Safety Partnership, there is political party representation on it. It might not be through council, but I sit on it for Sinn Féin. Councillor Norris sits on it for the SDLP. Gary Middleton sits on it for the DUP. I'm not sure about Darren Guy. Yeah, so there is political representation on it.
Yeah, through you, Chair, members, our officers in the regeneration team have been engaging with the groups, and we will bring a report back to members as soon as we can in terms of the way forward and how we consider it. Thank you.
Okay, members. So we do have, come back the initial report, we do have a proposal from Councillor Tierney. That's been seconded by Alderman Hussey. There's no dissenting voices, so that's taking that as unanimous and it's supported. And note in item 12, Alderman Hussey, you've a declaration of interest. And item 12 as members in relation to the members' attendance, the NAC conference and meetings, and Ellen's going to take us through that.
Through you, Chair, I think all the key facts are outlined in the report, but it seeks to seek approval for member attendance at the NAC conference and AGM at the end of this month in East Kilbride, and also it seeks approval for attendance by Alderman Hussey in his proposed new position as National Vice Chair at the conference and meetings of the National Association during the 2-year tenure. As indicated in the report, there are a number of elected members who sit on the NAC for this council, and they're identified in the report, and they've all been sent invites to the conference in November, but it's only Alderman Hussey has come forward expressing an interest, and at that meeting he is also due to be appointed as the National Vice Chair for that 2-year period, as indicated. The Director of Business and Culture has indicated the conference itself is relevant to the council, and therefore has indicated at a member attendance at the conference would be appropriate. The report also outlines that in his forthcoming new role, Alderman Hussey, as Vice Chair of the National Council, would be required to attend 2 conferences and 4 meetings in the UK in each of the 2 years, and that there are further regional meetings which aren't mandatory. And as I say, we followed this up with the NAC, and they had indicated that they would not be making any contribution to the payment of any expenses incurred in taking up that position. So in terms of the financial implications, attendance at the conference we've costed at £860, and we've also tried to do projections in terms of the year 1 and year 2 costs of supporting the role of Vice Chair, and they are set out there at 4.3. I think it's roughly 6,700 over the 2-year period. Report also indicates if anybody else wants to go to the conference, again, the costs are about £200. So the recommendations in front of the members for consideration today are to approve attendance by Alderman Hussey at the conference and AGM at the end of this month, and that's current cost of roughly £860. To approve his attendance at the 4 national conferences and 2 national meetings in the 2 years of tenure, which come to about that 6,700. And in the event that Alderman Hussey is subsequently nominated to be the national chair of the NAC in 2026, we'll bring forward a further report. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Ellen. Any thoughts, views, members? The proposals there in front of us, the details have been laid out, and more importantly, the cost implications to this council and its ratepayers have been pointed out. Is there a proposer for the recommendation, or is there any? No?
It's very expensive. You know, I honestly, I mean, and I think that it is worthwhile, and I think it's a great honour for Derek or for Alderman Hussey, to be appointed as Vice Chair. I do think that the cost is quite steep. Does NAC have any role or any remuneration or any methods of, in terms of office bearers and the costs that they may incur? Just thought.
Through you, Chair, I mean, we specifically asked the NAC, would they make a contribution towards the cost of taking up that position, as do a number of national associations, but they were quite explicit and said no. Unless, as I say, that's the information we got directly from the NAC, because we did actually pursue that angle. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with Councillor Duffy, to be honest. It is quite expensive. It's, what is it, 12 trips over the 2-year period, and it's costing over £6.5 grand. I wonder, and I'm not being flippant about this, but I do genuinely wonder about the benefit of these trips will have for ratepayers across this district. I fully agree that it's a great honour for Alderman Hussey, absolutely, but we're not here to make sure that everybody feels that they're great and they're lovely and all. Let's be honest about it. And when you're looking at the benefit that these events may give to ratepayers across the district, if someone's going to tell me that they are beneficial, then the question would be, we have 8 members of this council as members of this organisation, and only one of them's looking to go. It can't be that beneficial. Or the other 7 would be looking to go as well. I'm glad that they're not looking to go, by the way, given the cost of it. But I just wonder, I just want, you know, what does the council get out of this, Ellen? You know, what, apart from Derek being the vice chair and potentially the chair in 2 years' time, what do we get?
Just before I bring Ellen on, I just would have to point out that the Director of Business and Culture has indicated that this would be beneficial to council. To what extent, he hasn't elaborated, but Ellen, do you want to pick up?
That's the question I'm asking. I've seen that in the paper, but that's the question I'm asking.
Through you, Chair, and these are difficult questions for me to answer. Certainly, as I say, the Director of Business and Culture has looked at the content of the conference that's coming up and the AGM and deemed that there's value in actually attending that conference. Now, as I say, that's sort of a standalone and represents around £800–900 worth of the expenditure. That probably the advantage of being a vice chair, not only is it a great honour for Alderman Hussey himself, but the fact that our council area is being recognised, you know, on a UK platform, potentially has benefits in terms of raising our profile and also bringing back learning. Alderman Hussey, I have never been to an NAC meeting, so I can't actually provide any further detail on that unless Alderman Hussey, maybe you would want to ask him directly. Thank you.
Members, is there any further questions? And if not,
What do other council areas do?
Sorry, through you, Chair, I don't have that information, but I can bring it back to members. But I'm conscious of the conference that is at the end of the month.
And a lot of the questions that we might have, no, like that, there would be, it's council officers. Our council officers aren't in a position to answer them. This is a decision for us. Councillor Tierney, have you further questions?
Do we make a contribution to the NAC as a council? And if we do, how much is that annually?
Actually, I don't have that information with me. I should have anticipated that question. But all I can say, and this is why we probed the NAC, is there are a number of other UK-wide organisations that we pay subscription fees to, membership annually. And we actually then, if anybody's nominated towards a regional position or a UK-wide position, the association pays their costs because they're actually being a figurehead for the organisation, which is why, as I say, we probed this and double checked this with the NAC. But they seem to have a different position on it.
Chair, through you, so we pay the NAC to be a member, and then we're being asked to send someone to the NAC to represent us as a member?
And just to be clear, that person isn't representing us, they're representing the NAC. But in relation to your initial question, there's a man beside me that will have the figure.
It's 3,200 is our annual payment to the National Association of Councillors.
Maybe as a suggested way forward, members, I'm going to bring in the Chief Executive.
I can understand the difficulty that members have with this, Chair. Some suggestions, if members wish to consider them. Firstly, we could ask the Director of Business and Culture to dive a bit deeper into the benefits, if that might help, and bring it back to full council. The other potential opportunity is to not necessarily look at this as a complete package over 2 years. As I understand it, the current urgency is one first conference. Is there an opportunity simply to look at the first conference and to continue to explore the benefits and or any other potential funding opportunities, and then bring it back for members' further consideration? That's how I might propose we look at it if there is difficulty in biting it off in one go.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
Just a wee question on that, that if Alderman Hussey goes to the conference on the 22nd and is nominated as Vice Chair, does that put an onus on us to cover his costs going forward?
I don't think we could answer that, but I mean, there are opportunities to attend meetings in different ways, and I don't know that it's important to attend every single meeting. So I think we would have to get that question answered and then see if we can do something to work on this cost.
Just to try and move things along, I would be content that we approve the cost for the first conference and then gather more information in relation to the benefits for this council area. I don't think that we have enough information. So I think that it's important that we get that information. Understand that this conference is, the first one is on the 22nd of November. But at this stage, I'm uncomfortable proposing the whole item because it is quite a considerable cost to repairs in this council area.
Thank you. Councillor Henney?
Just as part of that scoping out then that's going to be done further, could we explore as virtual attendance a possibility? Virtual attendance?
Absolutely. No, but I just want to point out, I think myself and Councillor Tierney are on the Executive Board of NULGA. There has been occasions where I've had to travel to Britain to represent NULGA, which is a similar organisation, and all costs were covered by NULGA, and this council wasn't asked to make any contribution because I wasn't representing this council. I was representing NULGA as an organisation. But we've got a proposal.
Chair, can I, just before you go to the proposal, if you don't mind?
Yep.
Just to point out that I am the same boat as you, where my costs were covered by NULGA, not covered by this council. This council weren't asked even to cover them. I just want to make that clear because you pointed out that I was in the same boat as you. I didn't want people just to, in the absence of any doubt, my costs were covered by NULGA as well.
And I wasn't making any accusations. Alderman Kerrigan and then Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. Now, I'm not as au fait just in regards to the NULGA one, and I should be. The council's contribution NILGA on an annual basis. Maybe it is different. I know the National Association contribution has remained steady, I believe, for a number of years in regards to what the figure that the council pays into that membership. But in regards to the approach, I'm content enough. I say I'm not a member of committee, but as I say, we would be content enough with the approach there. It does seem quite expensive in regards to the costs, which are detailed there, but I do feel that there will be a benefit. It is something, and it's not just our council, and I'll be fair, it's not just our council, it is across the councils. I feel there is good work done by the National Association of Councillors, but we do have the difficulty of poor attendance, and oftentimes we do have 8 representatives listed, and oftentimes, to be fair, as myself and Alderman Hussey might be the only ones in attendance. Now, there does be apologies, and I know everyone's busy, but I don't believe I've seen anybody else at it, and I'll admit myself, I can't get every time, but it's one of those things that these outside bodies, I do find a benefit in it. I do find it is good to work with the other councillors and from the different parties as well and get that basis of it. And I do feel the conference will be of benefit, but we would be content enough, the DUP group in here, with the approach we've been taking that would support the initial event now in November and review it then going forward. But thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Donnelly.
Chair, and I welcome the scrutiny into this. It's a bit unusual. Maybe that's because it's an open business, but it is welcome. I hope it's not a case of penny wise, pound foolish, but in the absence of any concrete evidence or benefits, I can't vote for it, so I will be voting against it. Thank you.
Okay. There's no further speakers, so there's a proposal from Councillor Duffy. I haven't picked up a seconder.
Chair, if people are more content to hold off to maybe full council to get further information, I'm more than happy to do that as well. I do feel that there is a lack of information here for people to make the appropriate decision.
Okay, so we'll defer that decision to full council and request the Director of Business and Culture to provide further information around. Okay, so can we invite Alderman Hussey back into the meeting?
I'll second the deferral if it's needed.
Okay, while Alderman Hussey is taking a seat, I'm just going to draw your attention to item number 16. Is in our packs for open for information, but there has been a further development. So I'm going to bring the Chief Executive on to give us an update on the long-term plan for the Towns Fund.
Thank you, Chair and members. The report that Rachel drafted and is before you today has probably been superseded by information that we have received from the Department of the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government the day after the budget. So you'll know from the report that the Towns Fund funding had been paused. The indications we were receiving from officials during the pause period was that not to be overly concerned with regard to it. It was simply a matter that it had to be dealt with through the budgetary process. So we received indication on the 31st of October, just after the budget. I'm very pleased to say that confirmation that the long-term plan for towns will be retained and reformed as part of a new regeneration programme. This is a direct quote from the correspondence received. It states that the government will work in partnership with the 75 places across the UK that were previously selected. That includes ourselves, to receive funding under the long-term plan for towns alongside local and devolved government to supercharge the delivery of the 5 grand missions. Each place will receive up to £20 million of funding. So members, it's the same level of funding over the next decade. So again, it's over the same period. A revised prospectus for the programme will be published in due course. There may be some slight changes in terms of the criteria. It will confirm the associated timelines, and it will set out new strategic objectives which are aligned to the current government's missions. Very helpfully as well, it says following feedback from boards and local authorities that the previous programme timelines were too short and not conducive to the level of engagement. A further £200,000 of capacity funding to help each place take forward their plans is to be made available. And the programme delivery grant funding will now begin in 2026-27. So it just provides that little bit of extra time to get the plans in place. As we all know, it's challenging with procurement and a major consultative process to get those in place. So members, it looks very positive, I have to say. We await the guidance and the revised prospectus, and as soon as we get that, we will update this committee. Rachel has reached out to the 3 previously appointed co-chairs and advised them this morning, I think it was this morning, yeah, of the outcome, and we'll re-trigger meetings with that group and ultimately set up, as members had previously directed, the first meeting of the board, albeit we have to wait for the new guidance to ensure that it's a similar process to previously. If there are differences to that process, we'll advise you accordingly.
Okay. Thank you, John. Very positive development. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to John for the update, and to Rachel, obviously, for all of her work as well. I know John is saying that we have to wait for the new guidance, and I appreciate that. I'm wondering, in conversations with the department, have we heard anything in relation to the split of that 20 million over the lifetime of this fund, and in relation to the map or the proposed map that was being suggested previously? Have we heard anything around what that may look like, and are we expecting any of those to items, to objectives to change in the new guidance that's coming out? But I think, you know, I totally agree, this is very, very good news. It was about worrying there when it was paused. Thankfully, the British government have done their work, and we're able to progress on. The sooner we get the Towns Fund board up and running, the better. But just around those 2 particular issues, because I think they're key in how this money is going to be spent across this area. And I think we need to have that nailed down pretty quickly so that we all understand, first and foremost, what the split is and how that money should be spent, and then where it can actually be spent is probably going to be the issue that's going to cause the Towns Board the most difficulty, in my view. But so, Chair, if there's any, and I appreciate there may not be, but I just like an update. Thank you.
No, through you, Chair, members, we don't have those details. There are some clues in the letter. It's 20 million over 10 years, so that's clear. That's exactly the same as previously, and indicated that, you know, previously that could be flatlined as 2 million per year. There was previously a split between majority capital, but importantly, some revenue funding, and we would hope that would be part of the proposals going forward. I think we often struggle with some of the revenue projects, so that would be very beneficial. There's there's no suggestion that there would be dramatic changes to the places that have been mentioned. Although, as you previously might recall, there were some opportunities to tamper with the border of the region a little bit in consultation with government, but they haven't suggested at this stage that there would be any significant change to that. So we'll wait and see. But I think it's broadly going to be heading in the same direction.
There's so many responses that you could give to that last piece around speaking to the British government about what we can do with the border, John. But I think we do need to keep an eye on particularly the split and the map, because I think that's going to be very important. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Alderman Hussey.
No comment on the border. Not an inch. With regard to the overall 20 million and 2 million per year sounds okay. But do we know is there flexibility within that? Because if you're doing capital project, perhaps you need bigger sums at stages along that. Are we still assured that it is additionality that they want as opposed to substitution within how we take the funding forward? And I suppose the final thing would be, I'm presuming it's 100% funding, but at the same time, if, for example, the shared island unit come in with something that we could work together with on, would that be permissible within the remit of the funding that's coming forward?
Members, I'm just conscious that the Chief Executive has given us an update in relation to the initial communication from the British government. There will be further papers brought forward. There will be further discussions at the Town Hall Fund Board or the Town Hall meetings. But I do think it's unfair to sort of question council officers on something that they're not involved in at that level. So I think we can anticipate further papers coming, and we can get into the weeds on it in that regard. But the papers are for information. I just wanted to bring that further update. So moving on, members, items number 13 to 18 are open for information. I am going to take them as read unless anybody, and as a block, unless anybody indicates they want to comment on any of them. No, there's nobody on the chamber and nobody online. So I am requesting a proposer to go into confidential. Proposed by Councillor Tierney, seconded by Councillor McGinley. To go into confidential.